Hi. So, continuing on the Prakriti diagnostic things, today I am discussing how to read a manifestation and how to understand what goes on to understanding that manifestation. In the most recent past, I have discussed about psoriasis in two different age groups. And if you look at the videos, the thing starts somewhere that it is a Pittaj condition, but starts somewhere with a Kafaj manifestation. Now, if it is a Pittaj thing, the thing that is to be understood is most evidently it is a thing that has to do with energy or heat. Now, heat dynamics is something that comes very close to quantum medicine, quantum mechanics, and thermodynamics that together come quite close to the Panch Mahabhut theory and also the Tridosh theory of Ayurveda. Most of the things in the body are aligned in channels, and these channels have been named as srotas. Now, all these srotas are interlinked and everything is moving between each of these srotas, and therefore it is a dynamic equilibrium. There is nothing that is static. Giving the idea that at the quantum level everything is dynamic, what appears to be stationary is because of a volume that is dynamic in a synchronized motion. Not getting into that aspect, but coming back to psoriasis. Now you have three dosh: Vat, Kaph, and Pitta. Pitta is the energy form, and as we know, the ratio of Vat, Pitta, and Kaph has to remain 1 in any of the srotas and cumulatively across the whole body. So, in this case, the manifestation is on the skin, but the channel involved here is ras and rakt, that is lymph and blood, through which the entire thing is circulating and through which anything will reach the surface of the skin to show itself and manifest. Basically, what I am going to discuss is not even psoriasis, but how does Pitta manifest? Now, for anything to manifest, forget about Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, it has to show in some form, or it has to disappear in some form. So, if Pitta was to show, it has to move, and that movement will happen along with the ease of Vat. What it brings along is dryness of Vat, sharp energy of Pitta, and together this brings a lot of desiccation, leading to a prominence of Parthiv Gun or the Prithvi Mahabhut. So there can be scaliness, there can be crustiness, there can be dryness of the surface, and that is something that we see in psoriasis. Next, the other possibility is that the thing becomes obliterated. Now, if that obliteration is happening, that means it has gone down in its dominance and the other two factors may have taken over, one of which is more and the other is slightly more. Or maybe it has also gone down and only one factor is dominating, which is not allowing the manifestation of one of the three dosh. So, when they say the Kapha part of it, initially Pitta gets trapped in Kapha and Kapha is dominant. That is when it starts manifesting at the surface of the skin, very initial phases, and manifests much like allergic reactions all under the surface of the skin. The skin is bound by its own Kaphaj identity, and that Kaphaj identity prevents the dissemination of pith across the skin. Now, till the point Vat can carry it off, it does. But there is a point where Vat will also not be able to carry it off. The activity of Pith will be very, very high. And at the initial phase, when it is trapped under the cuff barrier, the manifestation will not be the same as it appears. Over a period of time, the dryness of cuff happens, which gives way for pith to surface beyond the cuff, and then it manifests much like a red, itchy lesion or sometimes a black lesion. That depends on whether it is forming a scaly appearance or it is forming a crusty appearance. Further, if this continues and this nature of spread goes across different srotas, that is when complication of multi-system involvement is seen. So, in the OPD, the patient's history is important because in the history of the patient, it is understood how a disease begins or what was the first manifestation. And you often see psoriasis appearing either on the broad mass, or which is often reddish, or at the joints when it is crusty. Joints are generally areas where Vata is quite dominant, and the muscle part is where mostly Kapha and Pitta are dominant, Kapha being more dominant. So the appearance here, since blood supply is also quite rich and it is a Kapha dominance, still because of rich blood supply on the surface, the manifestation here on any of these broad parts is reddish, pinkish or yellowish, whereas on the joints it is greyish or blackish. The first thing, that of dryness, is wholly because of a hyperpitta condition. At the same time, it is the activity of Vata which is also very much active when the state is very, very aggravated. Now, when we talk of multi-system involvements, we have to understand that this is a thing arising out of the body within, and it is in a way an autoimmune condition which has to arise essentially from the reasons of anaerobic respiration, which means there would be a stress on a lot many other organs, and as a later manifestation you can see issues like eye impairments, joint impairments, or metabolic issues like diabetes and thyroid malfunction coming up. That all depends upon the nature of medication that is used and what does that medication influence. So the role of physician therefore becomes very, very important, because he is the one who can track the movement of the dosh from one channel to other and one manifestation translating into another manifestation. In the OPD, not just psoriasis, but for any condition, the physical appearance is the indicator of what is dominant, but the history is the indicator of the course through which that dominance has taken place. So clinical diagnosis in the OPD will entirely depend on how you listen to the story, and then will depend on what element of the story are you looking to work. If you are looking to analyze the Panch Mahabhut, if you are looking to analyze the history, you will be able to decipher the Prakritic changes, the Prakritic dynamics across the period. Or otherwise you will simply go by the assumption that this is the manifestation on the surface and this is how we treat it. The results will be there, but in the case of manifestation based treatments, the results would be superficial, quite likely to be recurrent. If you go by the root cause analysis, the treatment period will be long, initial results may be slow, but the final outcomes will be final outcomes. That also depends on the stage of the disease or the disorder as to how far is it reversible. If multiple channels start getting involved, then the reversibility of the disorder goes on decreasing. And if essential channels get involved, then reversibility is, or complete reversal is impossible. These are basics that we need to remember, and this is what will sort out our clinical diagnosis in most of Ayurveda. Thank you.